A wealthy man abandoned his fiancée on their wedding day, only to be shocked years later when he crossed paths with her and discovered she had triplets. The day had finally arrived. Harper, radiant in her delicate lace and tulle gown, walked slowly down the aisle, her heart brimming with excitement. Yet something felt off. Logan was nowhere to be seen. At first, Harper brushed it off as a minor delay, perhaps a last-minute mishap. But as the minutes ticked by and whispers rippled through the guests, unease began to settle in her chest. The joy that had illuminated her all morning faded, replaced by a creeping dread. Finally, one of Logan's groomsmen approached Harper, his expression strained with discomfort. "Harper, I'm so sorry," he murmured, barely audible. "Logan isn't coming." The words hit her like a lightning bolt. Her breath caught and the room seemed to tilt beneath her feet. How could Logan, the man who had promised her forever, who had painted pictures of a shared future, abandon her like this, without a word? With her heart shattered, Harper left the chapel, her veil trailing behind her like a ghost of the life she thought she was stepping into. Ignoring the sympathetic gazes and murmured condolences of the guests, she walked into the cold sunlight, tears streaming down her face. Shame and heartbreak wrapped around her like chains, suffocating her as she tried to comprehend what had just happened. That night, Harper locked herself in her room, sobbing until her body gave out from exhaustion. Every memory of Logan, the laughter, the whispered promises, the plans for their future, stabbed at her like a knife. He was gone. No explanation, no goodbye, no closure. Only an empty void where their dreams had once been. Days turned into weeks, yet there was no sign of Logan. No calls, no letters, no messages to fill the silence he had left behind. It was as though he had vanished from existence. Rumors of her abandonment spread quickly through town, and Harper couldn't escape the pitying stares and hushed conversations that seemed to follow her wherever she went. The weight of the humiliation and pain became unbearable. Determined to escape the shadows of her past, Harper made the agonizing decision to leave her hometown. She packed her belongings, leaving behind the place where every corner whispered of Logan and the life they were meant to have. With nothing but a battered heart and a weary soul, she moved to a new city, desperate to rebuild. In her new home, Harper sought solace in simplicity. She found work, immersing herself in daily routines that offered brief reprieves from her grief. The quiet, modest life was a stark contrast to the luxury she had once known, but it brought her a sliver of peace. Still, the emptiness lingered. At night, when the world grew silent, the memories returned with a vengeance, as vivid and raw as the day Logan had abandoned her. But life had an unexpected twist in store for Harper. Not long after settling into her new routine, she began noticing subtle changes in her body, an unusual exhaustion, waves of dizziness and cravings she couldn't explain. At first, she dismissed them as the lingering effects of stress and heartbreak. But when the symptoms persisted, she visited a doctor. In the sterile calm of the examination room, Harper's world shifted once more. She was pregnant. Stunned into silence, she struggled to comprehend the life growing within her amidst the ashes of her heartbreak. The shock deepened when the doctor revealed she wasn't expecting one baby, but 3 triplets. As the reality sank in, Harper felt an overwhelming mix of emotions, fear, confusion, and a flicker of hope. This was not the life she had planned, but it was a life nonetheless, a chance to start anew. Far from the gossip and the judgment, Harper began to rebuild her world piece by piece. Her new life was modest, but it gave her space to heal. The news of her pregnancy added both challenges and purpose to her journey. Though Logan's betrayal had left scars, the promise of her children offered her a new kind of future, one where her strength and resilience could shape a life full of love and meaning. Little did she know, the choices she made in this new chapter would eventually bring her face to face with Logan again, forcing them both to confront the weight of their shared past. "You'll be an amazing mum, Harper," Clara would often say, her voice filled with assurance. "Those little ones will bring more joy than you can imagine. And remember, you're never alone in this." Months passed, each one filled with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Finally, the day arrived. Harper, surrounded by a diligent medical team, endured hours of labor before meeting her 3 precious children. Holding them for the first time, Max, Liam, and Sophie, she was overcome with awe. Each baby was perfect, distinct, and uniquely hers. In that moment, the pain of her past seemed distant, overshadowed by the profound love she felt for her newborns. Life with 3 infants was far from easy. Days blurred into nights of endless feedings, diaper changes, and soothing cries. Harper was exhausted in ways she couldn't have imagined, yet every smile, every tiny hand grasping hers made the struggle worthwhile. Gradually, the wounds Logan had left began to fade. Her children were her anchor, their laughter and innocence propelling her forward as she rebuilt her life. But the past has a way of creeping back when least expected. Years slipped by, 5 to be exact. Harper created a life of peace and stability for herself and her children. Max, Liam, and Sophie were her world, and though memories of Logan lingered, she'd learned to live without him. The betrayal was a scar, but no longer an open wound. Or so she thought. Logan, now a figure of success and prestige, found himself drawn back to the town he once called home. What began as a simple business trip would soon unravel the fragile peace Harper had worked so hard to build. The life she had fought for was about to collide with the past she thought she had buried, and the arrival of Logan would threaten to unravel everything she held dear. Over the years, Logan's life had been a whirlwind of travels, investments, and achievements. Yet, deep within him, a quiet emptiness had grown steadily, impossible to ignore. Despite his success, the choices he'd made in the past, especially leaving Harper, lingered like a shadow, haunting his moments of solitude. Returning to his hometown stirred a blend of nostalgia and curiosity for the life he'd left behind. One afternoon, after a business meeting, Logan wandered into a park. The crisp air and children's laughter filled the space, but something, or rather someone, caught his eye. In the distance, a woman stood surrounded by 3 young children. Her figure seemed oddly familiar. Logan froze, his gaze fixed. The way she laughed, how the children clung to her with an undeniable bond of trust and love, it all struck a chord. As he inched closer, recognition slowly dawned. It was Harper, his former fiancée, the woman he had abandoned on their wedding day. His heart raced, a storm of emotions crashing over him. But then his focus shifted to the children. Their faces, their movements, even the way they smiled, tugged at something deep within him. Logan couldn't shake the feeling. An uncanny resemblance connected them to him. Could they be his? The thought sent waves of shock and remorse rippling through him. He stood frozen, watching them from a distance, questions swirling. Were these children his? How could so much time have passed without him knowing? Logan's mind was in turmoil. Regret gnawed at him, clawing at the edges of his composure. A part of him wanted to approach them immediately, but fear and doubt held him back. How could he possibly face Harper after all this time? That night, sleep eluded him. Harper's face, the children's laughter, their innocent eyes, all of it replayed in his mind. Finally, Logan knew he couldn't leave this unresolved. He needed answers. He needed to know if those children were his, and if so, what role he had left to play in their lives. The next day, Logan leveraged his network to learn more about Harper and the children. He discovered she'd been living in the city for years, raising her children alone. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. Harper, the woman he had once promised forever to, had borne the weight of single motherhood without him. The guilt was overwhelming, yet it fueled his resolve. He had to confront her, not just for his sake, but for the children's. A few days later, Logan returned to the park. This time, he was determined. Spotting Harper with the kids again, he felt his heartbeat quicken. Fear and hope intertwined as he took one deliberate step after another toward her. When Harper finally noticed him, her face paled and her body stiffened. Her eyes reflected a mixture of shock, confusion, and anger. "Harper," Logan began, his voice trembling with sincerity. "I need to talk to you." She stared at him, torn between storming away and lashing out. Before she could respond, the children approached, their curious eyes darting between Logan and their mother. "Who's he, Mom?" asked Max, the oldest, his inquisitive gaze meeting Logan's, eyes that mirrored his own. Harper's expression tightened as she glanced at her children. "He's someone from the past," she said, her voice unsteady but firm, trying to shield them from the weight of the moment. Logan felt the impact of her words. The pain and resentment Harper still carried were palpable. He realized that if he wanted any chance at a connection with her or the children, he would have to earn it. He couldn't undo the hurt he'd caused, but he could try to atone for it. As Logan stood there, emotions roiling, he knew this was just the beginning. Harper's walls would not crumble easily, and the bond he hoped to forge with the children would take time and patience. Yet, for the first time in years, Logan felt a sense of purpose. This unexpected reunion would awaken long-buried emotions and force Harper and Logan to confront the pain of their shared past. For Harper, protecting her children was paramount, but Logan was determined not to disappear again. Their journey was only beginning, and its outcome remained uncertain. Logan's sudden reappearance brought back all the pain Harper had worked so hard to bury. He hadn't just abandoned her without a word. Now, 5 years later, he'd returned as though nothing had happened, demanding answers and hoping to be a part of their children's lives. Despite the anger and betrayal she felt, Harper knew she couldn't avoid this confrontation. It was a conversation that had to happen, one that required her to set firm boundaries. A few days after their initial meeting at the park, Logan reached out and asked Harper to meet him somewhere private to talk. Reluctantly, and with a storm of emotions brewing inside her, she agreed. It wasn't for his benefit, but for the children's. Clarity was necessary for their well-being. They decided on a quiet cafe, a neutral ground where interruptions would be minimal. When Harper arrived, she spotted Logan sitting at a table in the far corner, his face marked by an intensity she hadn't seen before. He stood up as soon as he saw her, hesitating for a moment, as though unsure how to begin. Harper approached with a measured calm, her expression icy and distant, signaling she wasn't about to make this easy for him. She sat down across from him, her gaze piercing, and waited for him to speak. Logan sighed deeply, his shoulders sagging under the weight of his guilt. "Harper, I want to start by saying I'm sorry. I know no words can undo the hurt I caused. But I need you to know that I regret leaving. It was the biggest mistake of my life, and every day since then, I've carried the burden of that choice." Her face remained impassive, but her voice betrayed the pain simmering beneath her composure. "Regret? Logan, you vanished without a word, without an explanation. Now you think you can show up, apologize, and it will fix everything?" Do you believe it's that simple?" Logan nodded, his eyes dropping to the table. "I don't think it's simple, Harper. I know I can't erase the past, but when I saw you with our kids, I realized I couldn't stay away. They're my children, and I want to be part of their lives. I can't change what I did, but I can be here now." Her chest tightened at his words. The idea of him stepping into her children's lives after abandoning her filled her with both fury and fear. She couldn't ignore the damage he'd done to her, nor could she trust that he wouldn't inflict the same pain on her children. "You have no right to demand anything, Logan. You've been absent their entire lives. I raised them. I've been there for them through everything, and I've done it all without you. What makes you think you can waltz in and change the rules now?" Her voice was resolute, her eyes locked on his, daring him to challenge her. Logan met her gaze, his expression a mixture of shame and determination. "I'm not here to take anything from you, Harper. I just want to know them. I'll do it on your terms, whatever you decide. I know I don't deserve it, but I need to try. I need to earn back your trust, even if it takes the rest of my life." Harper sat in silence, grappling with the whirlwind of emotions his plea stirred. Part of her wanted to shield her children from the pain he might bring, but another part, the logical part, recognized that they had a right to know their father. Yet, she wasn't about to make it easy for him. "If you're serious about this, it will happen on my terms," she said firmly. "The kids don't know who you are, and I won't risk their emotional well-being because you've suddenly decided to show up. You'll meet them as someone new in their lives, nothing more for now. If, and only if, you prove you're worthy of being in their lives, we'll discuss the next steps." Logan nodded solemnly. "I'll do whatever it takes, Harper. I just need a chance." She studied him, still unsure if he could live up to his words. Allowing him back into their lives was a gamble, one that could cost her children more than she was willing to pay. But she also knew that questions about their father would eventually arise, and she couldn't answer them alone. "Fine. We'll start small," she said, her voice steady but firm. "You can see them in a casual setting, no pressure, no big revelations. But hear me, Logan. If you falter, if you hurt them, even slightly, this ends. I won't let you disappear from their lives the way you did mine." "I won't, Harper. I promise," Logan said, his voice filled with a sincerity she hadn't expected. "I'll never leave them, or you, again." She didn't respond, her mind still reeling from the enormity of what she was agreeing to. For now, she would give him this chance, but she vowed to stay vigilant. If he broke this fragile trust, there would be no coming back. As Logan began spending time with the children under Harper's watchful conditions, something stirred inside him. He adhered strictly to the boundaries she set, assuming the role of nothing more than an acquaintance in their lives. But every smile, every curious question, and every innocent gesture from the kids tugged at his heartstrings, a constant reminder of all he had lost during his absence. The yearning to be more than a shadow in their lives grew stronger with each passing moment. Yet Harper remained steadfast, keeping a vigilant distance. Logan understood that earning her trust would be an uphill battle. Harper was unyielding, and he knew words alone wouldn't sway her. As someone who had always relied on wealth and influence to solve problems, he began to consider how those resources could help him bridge the gap more quickly. One afternoon, after spending time with the children, Logan approached Harper and asked to speak privately. Though hesitant, Harper agreed, assuming he had questions about the kids or feedback about the day's activities. But Logan had something entirely different in mind. "Harper, I know this situation is complicated," he began, his voice measured and serious. "But I'd like to discuss an idea that could be beneficial for all of us." Harper crossed her arms and regarded him with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "What kind of idea?" she asked, her tone cool and distant. Logan exhaled, carefully choosing his words to avoid an outright rejection. "I understand that you've carried the burden of raising the kids on your own all these years, and for that, I'm deeply grateful. But now that I've found them, I want to ensure they have the best opportunities in life. I can provide them with financial security, the kind that might not be possible on your own. I'd like to offer my help, to give them access to everything they deserve." Harper stared at him, her expression shifting between disbelief and anger as she processed his words. "Financial help?" she repeated, her voice sharp and incredulous. "Is that what you think I need, Logan? Money?" Logan, used to practical solutions and business negotiations, tried to keep his composure. "Please don't misunderstand me, Harper. I'm not saying you haven't done an extraordinary job. I know you're an amazing mother. But with my resources, the kids could have access to the best schools, extracurriculars, and trips. An entire world of possibilities." "I don't need your money, Logan," Harper shot back, her voice unwavering. "And I certainly don't need your promises of luxury. My kids don't need that either. What they need is someone they can count on, someone who won't walk away. Money can't give them that. If you want to be part of their lives, it's going to take time and effort, not checks or gifts." Her tone left no room for negotiation, but Logan, who was well versed in brokering deals, wasn't about to give up so easily. "Harper, I know money can't replace the time I've lost," Logan replied, leaning forward slightly, his tone softened but insistent. "But think about what it could mean for them. They deserve opportunities I can give them. Why should they miss out just because I wasn't there before?" Harper stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the worn tile floor of the cafe. The frustration in her eyes was unmistakable. "You don't get it, Logan. My kids already have what they need. If you want to be part of their lives, start by listening to what they actually need, not what you think they do. You can't buy their love, their trust, or mine." With that, Harper turned and walked out, leaving Logan sitting alone, the reality of her words sinking in. For the first time he felt the limits of his wealth, a tool that had always worked in his favor, but now seemed useless. If he truly wanted to be part of his children's lives, he would have to learn an entirely different currency: presence, patience, and effort. Logan remained in the cafe long after Harper had left, grappling with the weight of her words. Slowly, he began to understand. Gifts and promises of grandeur weren't the answer. What Harper said was true. The children didn't need shiny things or lavish vacations. They needed someone who would show up for them, consistently and wholeheartedly. It was a lesson that cut deeper than he expected, forcing him to reconsider everything he thought he knew about relationships. Over the following weeks, Logan chose a different path. He agreed to Harper's terms, showing up for casual meetings with no grand gestures, no ulterior motives. He resisted the urge to push forward too quickly, allowing the children to warm up to him at their own pace. In time, small but meaningful moments began to unfold. Max, the eldest and most inquisitive of the triplets, was the first to break the ice. His curiosity about Logan's travels and experiences drew them into long, animated conversations. Max's wide-eyed fascination with Logan's stories brought a quiet pride that Logan hadn't felt in years. Liam, on the other hand, was more reserved. Logan discovered that Liam had a knack for creative pursuits, puzzles, drawing, and building things. Each time Logan brought along a new activity, Liam's cautious demeanor would give way to a rare smile, a quiet nod of approval that meant more to Logan than he could express. Then there was Sophie, the youngest, whose keen observation and cautious demeanor intrigued Logan. Initially wary, she began to approach him slowly, especially when he joined her in imaginary play or read her favorite books aloud. Watching her eyes light up as he immersed himself in her world gave Logan a sense of fulfillment he hadn't expected. These moments weren't grand or dramatic. They were simple, genuine connections that slowly began to bridge the distance Logan had created. For the first time, he realized the value of being present, not just physically, but emotionally. And though the road ahead would demand more from him than he'd ever given before, he felt a quiet determination to keep going, for the sake of the children, and for the man he wanted to become. Every day, Logan realized just how much his life had transformed, and how deeply he longed to be there for them. Yet, that growing closeness came with an undercurrent of frustration. It became increasingly difficult to conceal his true identity and resist the urge to tell them that he was their father. The weight of the situation bore down on him, and he started to wonder how much longer he could endure playing the role of a near stranger. One sunny afternoon, as they enjoyed a day at Lincoln Park, Max caught Logan off guard with a question he hadn't anticipated. "Why do you visit us so often? Are you a friend of Mum's?" Fesh asked, his tone a mix of curiosity and suspicion. The question struck Logan like a bolt. He didn't want to lie, but he also wasn't ready to reveal the truth without Harper's consent. A pang of unease gripped him as he searched for the most honest response he could muster. "I'm someone who cares about you all very much," Logan replied carefully. "I just want to get to know you better. Life takes us on unexpected paths sometimes, and mine brought me here to you. If that's okay with you." Max studied Logan thoughtfully. Though he seemed somewhat reassured, Logan could tell the boy's doubts lingered. That brief exchange underscored a growing reality. While he was making strides in building a bond with the children, the moment of truth was fast approaching. If he wanted to truly be a part of their lives, he couldn't keep his identity hidden much longer. Harper, meanwhile, observed the evolving relationship between Logan and the kids with a mix of skepticism and cautious optimism. Though she still harbored doubts about Logan's intentions, she couldn't deny the joy he seemed to bring to the children. Their excitement when they spoke of him stirred both relief and trepidation in her heart. She knew the truth about Logan would eventually have to come out, but the fear of what it might do to the kids kept her from acting. She didn't want to risk upsetting the stability they'd always known. One quiet evening, after the children had fallen asleep, Harper and Logan found themselves alone in the dimly lit living room. The tension was palpable as Harper addressed the elephant in the room. "Logan, the kids are starting to ask questions," Harper began, her voice steady but serious. "Max is already picking up that you're not just a family friend. I can't lie to them, but I also can't let this situation unsettle them. They've had a simple, happy life. I won't let anything disrupt that." Logan met her gaze, understanding the weight of her concern. "I know, Harper. I don't want to hurt them either. But every day I spend with them, I feel like they need to know the truth. I don't want them to feel betrayed when they eventually find out. I want to be their dad in every sense of the word, and I believe they deserve to know who I really am." Harper sighed deeply, the burden of the decision pressing heavily on her. She knew the time had come to have that difficult conversation with the children, despite the uncertainty of how they might react. "All right," she said at last. "We'll talk to them. But it has to be handled delicately. I don't want them to feel overwhelmed or confused. You need to understand that trust isn't built with words alone, Logan. You'll have to prove to them that you'll be here no matter what." Logan nodded solemnly, grateful for the chance and acutely aware that there was no turning back now. A few days later, Harper and Logan sat down with the kids in the cozy living room. The triplets, Max, Ellie, and Liam, looked at their parents with a mixture of curiosity and attentiveness, unaware of the life-altering news they were about to hear. Harper took a deep breath, her voice steady but warm. "Kids," she began, "I need to tell you something important about Logan. He's not just someone who showed up to spend time with us." She paused, her eyes flickering toward Logan before returning to the children. "Logan is your dad." The room fell silent as the kids stared at her, their expressions a mix of shock and confusion. Max, ever the outspoken one, broke the stillness. He turned to Logan, his wide eyes filled with questions. "You're our dad? Why weren't you here before?" Max asked, his voice trembling slightly. Logan felt the weight of the boy's words hit him square in the chest. He took a deep breath, determined to face this moment with honesty. "Yes, Max," Logan said gently. "I'm your dad, and I'm so sorry I wasn't here before. I made mistakes, and I regret not being there from the beginning. But I'm here now because I want to be part of your lives, if you'll let me." Max's gaze softened slightly, but the questions in his eyes remained. As Logan looked at all three children, he knew this was just the beginning of the journey to earn their trust and love. Harper stood nearby, her eyes glistening with tears as she observed the scene. She knew that this moment, while beautiful, was only the first step in a much longer journey. Building a true family would take time, trust, and effort. She understood how fragile her children's newfound faith in Logan was. Yet, she held on to the hope that with dedication and patience, a genuine and stable relationship might emerge. From that day forward, Logan committed himself fully to proving his devotion. He faced the daily trials of fatherhood with unwavering determination, striving to earn the love and confidence of children who were just beginning to understand who he really was. As the days turned into weeks, Logan began to forge meaningful connections with his children. Each shared moment, whether small or profound, brought them closer to forming a genuine bond. Harper, still cautious, couldn't ignore the joy her children displayed when they were with him. However, as her kids grew more attached to Logan, so did his desire to play a permanent and meaningful role in their lives, a step Harper wasn't yet ready to concede without hesitation. One evening, during a tense discussion about visitation schedules, Logan voiced his frustrations with unusual directness. "Harper, I don't want to be a part-time figure in their lives," he said, his voice firm. "I need stability. I want to be involved in everything, their decisions, their education, their daily lives. I can't keep feeling like an outsider." Harper met his gaze, her own emotions a mix of sympathy and resistance. She had known this conversation would come eventually, yet she wasn't prepared for it now. "Logan," she replied carefully, trying to steady her voice, "they're only just starting to get to know you. You can't expect me to fully trust you overnight. I've been here for them through everything, the tough times, the moments when they needed someone the most. I asked you to approach this with patience, and now you're pushing too hard, too fast." Her words hung in the air, each one sharpening the tension between them. Logan sighed, feeling the weight of her words and the growing rift between them. He had hoped that by now Harper might lower her defenses, but deep down he knew that his absence over the years was a shadow he couldn't easily dispel. Days later, feeling increasingly stuck and uncertain about his place in their lives, Logan made a bold decision. After consulting with his attorney, he initiated legal proceedings to secure formal custody rights. Logan believed that shared custody was the only way to solidify his role as a father. With legal standing, he thought he could finally be present in the ways he yearned for. When Harper received the court documents, her reaction was a mixture of disbelief and outrage. For years, she had been the sole caregiver for the children, the one who nurtured and protected them. And now, after such a short time, Logan was attempting to claim legal rights? The betrayal stung deeply. When Harper confronted Logan, her voice shook with anger. "How could you do this?" she demanded. "You're using your money and influence to force your way in without any thought for how this will affect our kids." "This isn't a business deal, Logan. You can't buy your way into their lives with threats and lawyers." Logan, though hurt by her words, tried to remain calm. "This isn't a threat, Harper," he replied evenly. "It's a step toward being the father they deserve. I'm not trying to take them away from you. I just want to be a consistent presence in their lives, to share in the responsibility, the decisions, the moments that matter. You can't keep shutting me out." Harper gazed at Logan, tears brimming in her eyes, her voice trembling with indignation and anguish. "Do you really think this is the answer? That threatening me with a legal battle will somehow create something positive for them? Yes, you're their father, but that doesn't give you the right to intervene in such a brutal way. I've sacrificed everything for my kids, and now you're jeopardizing our stability just because you lack the patience to earn your place naturally." Her words cut deep, striking a nerve in Logan. He began to question whether he had chosen the right path. His intention was never to hurt Harper or the kids, but the process felt excruciatingly slow, and he feared he'd never secure the role of a true father that he so desperately craved. "Harper," Logan said, his voice softening as regret etched across his face, "I never meant to hurt you or the children with this. I just want to be their father, fully, not just someone who shows up occasionally. I can't bear to leave them again, and I need that to be clear." Harper studied him, her gaze filled with pain and distrust. Yet, beneath the frustration and tension, there was something different in him. Despite everything, Logan appeared genuinely affected by the situation. Still, the damage of his legal threat lingered, and the fear of him pushing things too far drove Harper to a decision. "If you truly want a place in their lives, Logan," she said firmly, "then you'll do it on my terms. You'll prove you won't make impulsive decisions again. This legal battle only fosters a hostile environment for them. If you really love them, I'm asking you to drop this lawsuit and take things one step at a time. I won't allow you to hurt them." Logan fell silent, her words weighing heavily on him. After a moment of introspection, he nodded. He understood that pursuing legal action would jeopardize everything he had been working toward with Harper and the children. He recognized how his impulsive decisions, driven by his yearning for stability in their lives, had led him astray. "You're right, Harper," he admitted. "I shouldn't have taken things this far. I'll withdraw the lawsuit. I just need you to understand that all I want is to protect them and be there for them." His voice, though steady, carried a vulnerability he rarely revealed. Harper felt a wave of relief, but maintained her emotional distance. She knew Logan would need to prove his commitment and patience through his actions if he truly wanted to be a part of their children's lives. Both of them realized the road ahead would be far from easy, and the wounds of the past still cast a shadow over them. Yet this moment marked a turning point. Logan understood that his place in their lives couldn't be won through force, but through consistent effort, respect, and genuine connection. Over the following days, he approached their meetings with a new mindset, one of humility and patience. He made a conscious effort to become the father his children needed, letting moments unfold naturally rather than trying to force them. Slowly but surely, a bond began to form. Trust started to grow in the small, shared experiences. Harper observed these changes in Logan with cautious optimism. His newfound demeanor suggested there might be hope for transformation, but her distrust lingered. She knew only time and unwavering dedication could prove his sincerity. For both of them, the challenges were far from over, but they remained committed to prioritizing the children's well-being above all else. The tension between Logan and Harper began to ease, but Harper's wariness was still evident. They both understood that moving forward would require honesty, and Logan realized that gaining her trust meant confronting the truth about why he had walked away from their lives in the first place. One afternoon, after spending time with the children, Logan asked Harper to stay for a conversation. Though cautious, her curiosity got the better of her, and she sat across from him, waiting for him to speak. Logan let out a deep sigh, searching for the right words. For the first time in years, his guarded expression gave way to a glimpse of vulnerability. Harper sat silently, her gaze fixed on Logan, who had just begun speaking. His voice carried a weight of regret mixed with raw sincerity, cutting through the quiet tension between them. "Harper," he started, pausing to find the courage. "I know trusting me is still hard for you after everything I've done. But if we're going to build something stable for the kids, you deserve the truth." She didn't reply, allowing him the space to continue. Her expression, though calm, betrayed the turmoil his words stirred. Logan swallowed hard, his eyes dropping to the floor. "I've avoided this for so many years, but I can't keep running from it. The day we got married, I was terrified. Not of you or the commitment itself, but because I felt completely unprepared. My life had always been about control, power, and money. But with you, I felt vulnerable in a way I never had before. It scared me, and I let that fear control me." Harper's face remained unreadable as she absorbed his words. She had long assumed his sudden disappearance was a sign of selfishness, perhaps even disinterest. But hearing the reasoning behind his actions added a complexity she hadn't expected. "So, you just ran away?" she asked finally, her tone a sharp mix of disbelief and bitterness. Logan nodded, shame etched across his face. "Yes, I ran. I thought leaving would protect you from something worse. I didn't want to hurt you, but I was too consumed by my own fears to see that abandoning you was far more cruel than facing my doubts. I convinced myself it was the right thing to do, but it wasn't. It was selfish." Harper crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing slightly. "What I can't understand, Logan, is why you didn't come back, why you never even tried to explain. You just disappeared like we never mattered." Logan's shoulders sagged under the weight of her accusation. "I thought it was too late," he admitted softly, "that you'd never forgive me. And in my cowardice I chose the easier path, running away from everything that reminded me of what I'd done. But I never forgot you, Harper, or the life we dreamed of. I carried that regret every day. And now I'm here because I want to make things right, for the kids and for you. I know I can't erase the pain I caused, but I hope I can begin to heal some of it." Her chest rose and fell with a long, deep breath. His words carried a bittersweet truth, one that chipped away at her resentment but didn't erase the hurt. "I'm not saying this changes anything," she said cautiously, her voice softer now. "But I appreciate your honesty. Maybe it's a step toward what we need. For the kids." Logan nodded, knowing there would be no instant forgiveness. Yet her words gave him hope, a small opening to rebuild something he had destroyed. In the days that followed, Harper began noticing subtle shifts in their dynamic. Though the wounds of the past still ached, Logan's honesty had allowed her to see him in a different light. She found herself observing a man who wasn't just remorseful, but actively trying to change. For years, Harper had painted him as someone who had walked away out of indifference. Yet, now, she saw the complexity behind his actions. His decisions, devastating as they were, had stemmed from fear, not a lack of love. That realization didn't erase the pain, but it planted a seed of understanding. The kids, blissfully unaware of the tension, grew closer to Logan with each passing day. They delighted in his presence, seeing him as a steady, loving figure in their lives. Harper, though guarded, allowed him to be around more often. Gradually, weekends became filled with small family outings, trips to the park, casual lunches at diners, and even shared moments of laughter that felt almost natural. Logan, too, was changing. The once sharp-edged businessman who thrived on ambition and wealth now found fulfillment in the simple joys of fatherhood. Each smile from his children chipped away at the emptiness he had carried for so long. The vast fortunes he had once chased seemed meaningless compared to the bonds he was rebuilding with his family. Harper noticed his growth, though she was still hesitant to trust him completely. She couldn't ignore the pain of his past choices, but she couldn't deny that the man standing before her now was different. He was trying, and for the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility of rebuilding something genuine. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Harper watched their triplets playing at the park with Logan, a wave of emotion washed over her. The sight of him chasing the children, their laughter ringing through the cool air, stirred something inside her. Logan and Harper had weathered countless conflicts, harbored deep resentments, and faced stark revelations. Yet, in that quiet moment, Harper understood that the best path forward for their children was to find a way to coexist peacefully. That evening, after the triplets had fallen asleep, Harper invited Logan to join her in the living room. Though surprised, Logan didn't hesitate. He sensed that whatever she had to say carried weight, his eyes reflecting both curiosity and a flicker of hope. "Logan," Harper began, her voice calm but resolute. "I've been reflecting on everything we've been through these past months. I know my doubts and fears have been a roadblock for you, and I want you to understand that letting go of the past hasn't been easy for me. But our children, they deserve parents who are present and at peace." Logan nodded, his expression a blend of understanding and attentiveness. He remained silent, giving her the space to speak freely. "I've seen the effort you've made," Harper continued, her tone trembling slightly under the weight of her words. "I see how much you care, and it's clear to me that you're truly committed. That means more than you know, not just to me, but to the kids. I think it's time we create a plan, a real agreement that allows you to have a meaningful relationship with them. One where neither of us oversteps or makes hasty decisions. Our focus needs to be their well-being, above all else." Logan's expression shifted from surprise to gratitude. He had long yearned for this chance, and hearing Harper's willingness to build a bridge of trust felt monumental. "Thank you, Harper. You have no idea how much this means to me. I promise I'll do everything I can to honor this and be the father our children deserve. I won't fail them, or you, again," Logan replied, his voice rich with emotion. They spent the evening outlining the details of their agreement. Logan would have an active role in the major aspects of parenting, education, health, and extracurricular activities. They arranged a shared schedule that allowed each parent to have quality time with the kids, ensuring a harmonious approach without competition or unnecessary interference. Harper was clear. No extravagant gifts or empty promises to win the children's favor. What truly matters, she emphasized, is consistency, love, and respect. Logan agreed wholeheartedly. He understood that it wasn't wealth or luxuries that his children needed, it was his presence, his devotion, and his unwavering commitment. As the conversation neared its end, Harper's tone turned serious. "One more thing, Logan," she said, meeting his gaze firmly. "If I ever feel that this arrangement is harming the children or that you're not holding up your end, I won't hesitate to protect them. This is your chance, but it's also your responsibility." Logan nodded solemnly, the gravity of her words sinking in. "I understand, Harper. Thank you for trusting me with this. I won't let them or you down. I've wanted this more than anything since I found them, and I won't waste this opportunity." With their agreement in place, Harper and Logan began working together as a team, a dynamic that would have seemed impossible just months earlier. The triplets, unaware of the intricacies behind their parents' newfound harmony, began to thrive in the warmth of a united family. Weekend outings to the park, playful afternoons, and shared meals became the norm. The children's laughter echoed through their home, a melody of stability and joy that both Harper and Logan cherished deeply. Over time, the triplets grew more secure, knowing both parents were present and devoted. Every giggle, every embrace, every milestone became a shared celebration. For Logan, these moments of connection held a profound fulfillment that years of luxury and business success could never provide. In their smiles and trust, he found a treasure far more valuable than anything he had ever pursued. For Harper, this arrangement was an act of courage and faith. She knew the scars of the past would never fully fade, but she also realized that love for her children required sacrifices, and sometimes second chances. While she remained cautious, creating this space for Logan signaled the start of her own healing. Together, Harper and Logan committed to building a future where their children could grow surrounded by love and support. Despite their mistakes and differences, they found common ground in what truly mattered, ensuring their children's happiness and well-being. Weekends became a cherished time for shared activities, outdoor adventures, movie nights, board games, and lively picnics. For the triplets, these moments felt nothing short of magical. Their laughter and boundless energy filled every gathering with life and joy, creating memories that they would carry with them for years to come. But amid the warmth of family life, Harper and Logan found themselves drawn closer together in ways they hadn't expected. One quiet afternoon, as the children played in a nearby park, Logan took a seat beside Harper on a weathered bench. They sat silently for a while, their gazes fixed on the carefree play of their kids, their smiles easy and content. The stillness between them was comfortable, filled with the quiet understanding that only shared experiences can bring. Eventually, Logan broke the silence. "You know, Harper," he began, his voice reflective, "I never thought this would be my life. I spent so much time chasing success, power, things that don't really matter. I didn't realize the most valuable part of my life was right here, with them, and with you." Harper turned to him, caught off guard by his honesty. Over the past months, she had noticed a shift in Logan. The man who had once been consumed by ambition and impulsivity had softened. His priorities had realigned, evident in the way he now cherished every moment with their children and approached their joint decisions with respect and thoughtfulness. "I didn't imagine we'd end up here either," Harper admitted, her smile gentle but sincere. "But seeing the kids this happy, it makes every challenge, every sacrifice, completely worth it." For the first time in years, Harper felt the weight of the past lifting. Though the scars of their history lingered, she had learned to let go of the pain and embrace the present. In doing so, she discovered a new sense of peace, not just for herself, but also toward Logan. The resentment and distrust she once harbored had given way to an unexpected acceptance of the man he had become. Logan glanced at her, his expression earnest. "I just want to thank you," he said softly, "for giving me this chance. I know it wasn't easy, and you had every reason to shut me out. But you didn't. You let me be here for them, and for you. I'll never forget that." Harper smiled, her heart recognizing the sincerity behind his words. She knew life was far from perfect, and the past would always have its shadows. But she also saw that forgiveness and cooperation had created something beautiful, something lasting. Over time, this fragile new dynamic solidified. Logan became a steady and reliable presence in the children's lives, and his relationship with Harper blossomed into a deep friendship. Though they didn't rekindle their romantic bond, they found a connection rooted in mutual respect, shared responsibility, and an unwavering love for their kids. Months turned into years, and the family continued to grow together. The triplets thrived, surrounded by unwavering support and love, while Harper and Logan remained united at every turn. They built a foundation of trust and collaboration that gave their children the stability and strength to navigate the world confidently. The story culminates in a quiet yet poignant scene. Harper, Logan, Max, Liam, and Ellie sit gathered around a dining table, the room alive with laughter and animated conversation. As their children's voices fill the space, Harper and Logan exchange a glance. Their smiles speak of a hard-earned peace, a shared understanding that their unconventional journey had brought them to a place of profound fulfillment. Life hadn't unfolded the way they once envisioned, but they had discovered something greater, a shared purpose that centered on the love they had for their children. With that love guiding their choices, Harper and Logan knew they could face any challenge. No matter what the future held, they were, and always would be, a family. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Your support means everything, and I can't wait to bring you more heartfelt stories next time. See you in the next video.